Hey everyone, Monica Jazik from RPI Education, and welcome again to the Financial Freedom Summit. In this series, you'll hear from 21 experts sharing powerful, little known wealth building strategies that 98% of people are not using. These interviews are packed with real actionable steps to help you fast track your financial freedom. Let's jump in with today's guest, who's a very special guest because he's actually a second time guest, Daryl Ubansky. Daryl, how are you?
I am good. I was surprised that you asked me back, and I'm honored to be back. I'm here to serve.
So we had such a fantastic interview on your first interview, talking about your best business coaching practices, 8 critical habits that every entrepreneur needs to develop. If you have not seen this video, I'm actually going to attach the first interview to this email as well for you guys to refer back and watch to it because there's some real big think pieces in regards to financial freedom. And Daryl, that was just so impactful. It's just been resonating in my mind since we last spoke. But Daryl is very special. He's like many entrepreneurs, he has many different multiple streams of income. And one of them, which we really kind of got into also, but we didn't get in very deep, so I wanted to get in deeper, was the Oasis bio home.
Hmm.
And if you haven't heard what that is, you are not alone. And that's what we're going to be learning about today. But Daryl is also, on top of everything else he does, the co-creator of the Oasis Bio Homes.
Hmm.
And this is a very, very revolutionary concept towards housing. And you provided some really, really interesting concepts about financial freedom and housing and how they relate together.
Yeah. So,
So
oh,
can
yeah.
can you can
Well,
you
because
actually just start tell us exactly what are Oasis Biohomes and how can they help people create
right.
financial freedom?
Yeah. So it came up in the last call because we talked about, what are the top 2% do? And I said, at what level? Because at the highest level of wealth, you need armies. There's a layer of death that preserves your wealth. Not because necessarily you're an evil person, but because every barbarian and robber is going to be coming after you and you have to defend yourself. So, that's, I think, what kind of triggered it. And then on top of that, you know, a lot of people, it depends how you want to live. Do you want to live like a zoo animal or do you want to live free? I mean, the original American dream, Canadian dream was come here, take a piece of land, make of the land what you will, maybe pay a little bit of tax once a year and then, make what you will. So everybody kind of started off financially free, so to speak, but they just had poor quality of life, right? They lived in little shanties. They didn't have maybe even indoor plumbing at one point in time. And so it's all been an evolution. And now we've gotten to this point where even if someone is quote unquote financially free, they're not, because at any point in time, we just talked about this at the beginning of the call before we hit record. I just had to walk in my neighborhood to walk my dog, and I ended up talking to these kids, local kids, about this because it came up. But your bank account's not yours. Like, a lot of people are shocked to kind of hear that. Like, your bank account, anybody showing up with some legally sounding scary paperwork can shut down your bank account, your credit cards, and lock you out of your funds. So financial freedom might be like, oh, I don't have to work to pay the bills that I have. It's essentially like I can live and not die, and that's how much money I have. But if you live in a condo, I mean, we said this stuff at the beginning of the day. If you live in a condo, even if you own your condo, you got to pay your condo fee, you got to pay your insurance, you got to pay your water, your power bill. If you don't pay any of those, they kick you out. They take it from you. So the idea is, and this, like you said, it came from when I was in Vietnam. I really had the realization when we were in Vietnam. We were living in Saigon, and this was COVID. I got stuck there for COVID. I remember I cried on the balcony when I first heard the news because everybody was still not sure what was going on. China locked down and made their big announcement like January 24th or something. And it was less than 6 days later, I think Vietnam did the same thing. They have a land border with China. They've got a long history. They're not good friends with China. They just, boom, shut down 100 million people. Everything was canceled. Boom. If China's doing it, we're doing it. Everything cut down. And I started crying on my balcony one day because I remember feeling like the eggs have been laid, and I've never seen military mobilization like that in my life. Like, the whole hand sanitizer dispensers everywhere, the whole country shut down. If there was, for every previous one police checkpoint, now there were 5. Like, I just couldn't believe. And I felt like that's what it seemed like to me. that the eggs had been laid and that they were moving in the military, the medical military personnel to just start waiting for the bodies to drop, and we were trapped in this building. I mean, first it was the city and everything kind of was okay. And then all of a sudden one day, because they had insane contact tracing, they were contact tracing like one person through the city. I mean, this is a country of 100 million people and they're following one person, but the country had CCTV cameras everywhere, and they have mandatory military service for all, I think it's just males, but all males. So they have watchers on the street watching you with CCTV cameras watching the watchers. And if you live in any apartment building or condo in Vietnam, you have a CCTV camera in your living room. This is George Orwell, 1984, right? Like I remember being in there. I never thought anything about it at first, but then I realized one night I was sitting there watching a movie and it was 1 a.m. or something. I looked over and the lights were blinking. I'm like, someone's watching me right now. Like that thing's active. That's not what it looks like most of the time. And I realized that I was in a hyper surveillance state. And then move along some period of time, I woke up to police surrounding our apartment building, our condo, because some bar opened up earlier than they were supposed to, and some people went there and they contact traced, somebody got COVID, and some guy on the 20th floor, was contact traced. And so they've shut down the whole building. People in hazmat suits walking through the hallways, people knocking on the door saying, hey, you got to sign this piece of paper promising to stay in your unit indefinitely, or we're going to camp you. We're going to take you to a camp. And so now I'm locked in this 2-bedroom apartment with my girlfriend at the time. And I think our daughter was maybe 8 months. She's my wife now. And I'm thinking, I can't get to the ATM. I got cash in my bank account, but doesn't matter how much money's in there. I can't leave my apartment. What we ended up having to do was thank goodness we had a local friend that we were close with that would be able to buy groceries for us and have it delivered when it would be given to the police. The police would handle the security guards. The security guards put it in the lobby. You get a phone call and you go to the elevator, you go down, get it, come back up. And that was it. And that ended up happening to us twice during that experience. And that was a real realization to me that a life insurance policy, that a big fat bank account, all that stuff doesn't matter if you're not self-sufficient in your living space. And not only on top of that, with the drama that I've had or had friends have with landlords and that, like, really, you want to own a piece of land. Like that's like, you want to have something when you talk about financial freedom, so much of financial freedom is wrapped around owning productive land. Warren Buffett say own productive assets. And there's other options, but a huge percentage of them are have a piece of land that does something. It grows food. It's got cattle. It's got livestock. It's got a commercial rental. It's a residential rental. It's a factory. It's a piece of land that does something. And so much of this is over land ownership. It's the most proven pathway to financial freedom ever. But the way that it's set up right now, it's incredibly profitable at a systemic infrastructure level. I'm in the Philippines and my wife and I walk around our neighborhood, and we live in a nice neighborhood. I got a general that's a neighbor. I got an ambassador to Japan that's another neighbor. It's a nice neighborhood. We walk around the neighborhood and we're estimating what our electric bill is every month. And we're looking around counting everyone else. And we're like, this one neighborhood is over $500,000 a month in electric bills. And there's probably a good margin on that. It's not that we don't have solar panels. They've had solar panels since the 60s. You said this in the beginning, that what I come up with is like a revolutionary. It's not any of that. It's old stuff modernized and repurposed. So the Oasis Biohome, which was your original question, is essentially an earthship that's more mainstream. Earthships have been built for 55 years. They were invented by a man named Michael Reynolds. He wanted to figure out, how do we fix the housing crisis? How do we give people homes that actually sustain and support them? And he developed a home that's built out of recycled materials. It's solar powered. It uses geothermal cooling. You recycle your water, your gray water, even your black water if you have a septic, to the field, and it collects water from the sky. And they helped figure out, him and his friends, I don't know if they were the pioneers of figuring this out, but they tested, like, can you live on water from the sky? And ultimately you can. Most places have enough rain that over the year that you can collect it if you're smart enough and live off water from the sky. And so he's been building these for 55 years. I met him at Ryerson University. I did a workshop. I've been following him since I was 19. Been a huge fan, but there's some problems that prevent them from being more mainstream. One, they're really expensive to build.
Mhm.
He builds them out of recycled materials. He uses used tires and packs them full of gravel and sand to make like a rubber, a dirt brick that's rubber encased type thing. One tire takes a half an hour. A small house takes 1,000 tires. So you're looking at 500 hours of just pounding dirt into tires with a sledgehammer. And all you have are load-bearing walls at this point. You don't have anything else finished. Not everybody likes the look and feel of the Earthship because they look kind of Star Warsy and can be tough to find a builder, tough to get permits, and then the financing, right? Like these aren't easy to do. So he's been building them for 55 years, but they're just not mainstream. And during COVID and that, I realized everyone's doing things maybe they wouldn't have done if they weren't living hand to mouth, right? Doing things they wouldn't do if they weren't worried about, oh, I need this paycheck. And even in Canada, I mean, a personal story, we've got this great program called medically assisted intentional death. Canada has it, California has it. I think it's a scam from the government. I've had pushback on it, sure. There's lots of people crying foul play. And I think with something as serious as this, I think if there's any crying of foul play, it's worth looking into. How I understand it, with my biased, jaded point of view, is that the government and the politicians have pilfered their social security coffers, so there's not enough money there. So you need to figure out a solution. So now if you're over a certain age, you go see your doctor and you say, my body hurts, or I feel sad. The doctor goes, oh, well, have you considered dying? And the people go, no, I've never thought dying. The doctor goes, oh, it's great. It'll solve all your problems. And they go, really? And they book an appointment for you and you come back next Tuesday and the doctor puts you down like a dog. And the doctor makes whatever their commission is, their fee from the government for murdering you. And the government gets to absorb all of your assets if you don't have anyone to inherit them. And so it's a great deal for the government. They don't have to pay you Social Security. They make money from your death. You're already old enough that you're not really contributing to society anyways as a productive worker. So this is a crazy program. And now they've done the blessing of extending it to kids. And my family in Canada, we know at least 5 people that have participated in this. One of them was an aunt of mine. And it's my belief that she did it because she didn't want to be a burden on anyone. She can't afford. We've heard this before. There's been stories of this, of people that can't afford the cost of living and they don't want to live on the street. And so now what? And if I could have put my aunt, if I could help these people get into a home where they collect water from the sky, it's solar powered, it heats and cools itself just by being smartly designed, and they can grow a small amount of food. Most people, when you see they're like a huge time consumer with having a garden is watering it. So if your garden is hooked up to your shower and to your washing machine and your bathroom sink, because those are gray water. There's gray water, black water. Black water is often kitchen sink and sewage, your toilet water. That's separate. Gray water is mostly just soap, shampoo, toothpaste, maybe a little urine. But the main reason why soap is a pollution is because it's full of nitrogen and phosphate. And when you pump that into a lake or stream, it upsets the natural ecosystem. We all know the story of like too many foxes, not enough rabbits, the foxes die off. Too many rabbits, there'll be more foxes. That natural balance is upset when you start pumping lakes and streams full of fertilizer for plants. The plants just bloom and grow, and you have algae blooms and stuff. But if you put that into plants, into a garden, that's fertilizer. It's just not pre-balanced. So I just spent 3 to 5 years trying to figure out how do we make Earthships more mainstream for my family, but also to help other people. Zig Ziglar said you can have anything you want in the world as long as you help enough people get what they want. And so I put a stake in the ground where I wanted to help transform the state of living free worldwide. I want to create the McDonald's of affordable, prefabricated, self-sufficient homes. So it's possible for people to own a home that offers comfort, luxury, and subsistence living. And all this technology already exists. It's just incredibly profitable to have you pay for a water bill every month. There's places in North America where the government tells you can't collect rainwater. It's illegal. Like, I'm sorry, what? I can't collect rainwater? What are you going to next? You're going to ration my sunlight per day? Like, this is just insanity. Are you going to tell me how much air sorry, you're breathing too much? Like, this is just such nonsense and such a great overreach. Like, we're not farm animals. And a lot of people don't realize that just like a pig farmer farms pigs and an apple farmer farms apples, a government, its purpose is to govern people or farm people. And if you don't comply, if you're not easy to govern, makes their life more difficult. So it's a naturally adversarial relationship, not because necessarily the government's inherently evil, but because its purpose, you know what I mean? Like and you have to make sure it doesn't grow too big, because then it's the story of the snake eating its own tail. So I just went on a big, long, like 10-minute rant there, but so I found a way to make earthships more accessible. I partnered with a company, and their head architect and I spent 8 months, and I paid Michael Reynolds for a dozen private consultations, and we figured out how to make a prefabricated version of the earthship. So now you can have a beautiful little hobbit type home, like earth burned home, that has geothermal cooling. You've got rainwater collection, the gray water recycling system, and we've got small units from 750 square feet to, we can do any size. Right now, the biggest model is 1,769 square feet. That's the interior. That's not the whole footprint. And we've got probably 60 projects taken off. We got three that have already been bought. Another 60 we've done over 6,000 leads. And I think there's about 60 plus projects that seem serious. They're just between, land, builder, permit, financing. And
Is this the home that you have on your farm, like your rural?
my wife and I, we have 3 lots. So again, you want to make money. Typically we do that with business of some sort. And then with that funds, you need to invest it. We have 3 pieces of property. We've got 800 dragon fruit on one. That's the no one's gonna have to suck dick for money if Daryl dies plan. And so we've got these 800 dragon fruits on a 500 square meter lot. And then we have 2 other lots. And one of the lots, 750 square meters. So that one we're developing to build one of these oasis. On our farm lot with the dragon fruit, it's near, in the Philippines, they're really big on family compounds. I think it's such a great idea. Buy 100 acres with friends, raise your families together. They do that in the Philippines. It's super common for there to be a family compound where everybody's in the neighborhood. Everybody in the neighborhood is relative. So my wife and I, we have a piece of property that 500 is on the side of her dad's big farm. He's got pigs and goats and chickens. And then I planted this, and he used to do, he did 2 things. One, he stopped planting sort of like 30, 60-day crops. And then he planted he basically planted a permaculture forest. He planted papaya, like 100 papayas and bananas and all this stuff. He planted a bunch of eggplant. And he also became president of the local farmer agricultural something association. So that's that lot. And then we helped him build a house there. This was prior to having this done, the oasis done. My brother-in-law is a structural engineer, and I worked with him, and we came up with something that's kind of close, but it's not quite there. It's a 6-bedroom, 4-bath house. It has rainwater collection. It's not used in the house. It's used around the farm. And I did get him a solar kit, but that's paid off in cash. So the idea now is all that land is paid off in full. All that land is productive. 6-bedroom, 4-bath house is there. We got a solar kit for it. There's no rent to pay. There's no electric bill. There's a water bill. And that's basically it. So we already have that. And then we have the 2 other lots. We've got a 750 square meter lot that's in an agricultural residential subdivision. I think there's about 500 lots in that subdivision. And I think they only built the first 5 houses so far. We haven't seen it. We're actually supposed to go this week. But we're going to build the oasis there. And our plan is to do little Airbnb, like dragon fruit, bed and breakfast kind of thing with a permaculture yard that is, our standard 3 crops type thing that we know how to process. And then people can stay in there, and we can use it as a show home. But also anybody that stays the night, they get a little brochure on how to live, how to escape the rat race. Because our smallest home, you can build the smallest one. I think it's listed right now for something like $45,000, $48,000. And what we sell is the shell and all the plans and the drawings for the builder and help you get the permit. And to finish it, depending on which country, and it's basically 2 to 3x that price. So you're looking at $150,000 if we triple it. You could have a house and pay that off. If you're paying $3,000 a month right now, for rent, power, water, you could build this and pay it off. I think $3,000 a month will pay off $100,000 in 3 years. In 2.8 years, it'll pay off $150,000 in just shy of 5 years. That means in less than 5 years, you could own a home, free and clear, solar powered, like all this stuff. But people just don't do it because it's not as profitable.
And also the size is smaller too,
That
right?
one's
So
small. Sure,
how
you could
much
go
would
with the
the
bigger one.
1,700 square foot be, and how many
Yeah, the seven.
bedrooms would that one model have?
Pardon?
How many?
Four bedroom. I mean, you can split them up if you want, but it's a 4 bedroom. We have some people that have asked about making a multifamily, so we
Hmm.
can do them as a duplex. There's a couple in California. They build and they own 2 cannabis dispensaries. They're building their third. They want to do a little cul-de-sac of 8. They want 3 big and 5 smalls.
Hmm.
The big one, it's 4 bedroom, 2 bath. But we've got the engineers and the architects. We can do basically almost anything. There is some limits to the design if you want to do the Oasis style, the self-sufficient style, just because we've got a rainwater collection system. So the cisterns have to go. So typically right now, everything goes along the back wall. And so you got windows on the 3 sides, not on the back wall. The back wall it's all earth bermed, except for obviously the front face. I could share my screen on Zoom and show some stuff, but I don't know if I didn't necessarily come here to pitch the Oasis. I came here to talk about how you can put, I
Yeah.
mean,
But it
not
sounds like the sustainability is a lot of it too. So the mortgage-free aspect, that's good for
yeah,
ownership. The actual, I'm assuming most of these are on some sort of acreage, because then they can also combine it with, you said it's important for people to do production on their land as well, which is great. And then they can eliminate the need for the bills, like the water, the electricity, all those components are also part of the house
yeah,
as
yeah. And a lot of this for the people that are listening, again, I'm going to share, I'll share my screen if I can and go through some stuff, but I don't want to emphasize, like, I'm not coming here to try to sell you on the Oasis.
well. Oh,
A lot of
yeah.
it isn't like, we had a rain barrel growing up. We had 2 rain barrels as a kid growing up, and they overflowed and overflowed and overflowed all the time. Yeah, your grandparents probably had a septic tank. So none of this is necessarily radically revolutionary. But what
Hmm.
it is it's trying to make home ownership more affordable and really, like, especially look at Canada. It is a completely intentionally manufactured reason why we have a housing crisis in Canada, because we have so much land. We have so many trees. There is no excuse for there being the shortage that there is, other than it's just insanely profitable. I think when Pierre was campaigning for prime minister, I think I heard him say on a talk that it costs $1 million in fees in Vancouver before you can build anything. Like,
Hmm.
you haven't even broken ground. You're just paying $1 million in fees.
Hmm.
Like, what is that? That is your uncle, your cousin Kevin rubber stamp government corruption nonsense. This is where you got a useless cousin. He's an idiot. He needs to make money. Your family's all in government. So now everyone's got to pay cousin Kevin for his rubber stamp because he's an idiot, but he's just nepotism and he's got to get paid somehow. So you got to pay the $50 fee to get, like, it's just nonsense. This is it's not about keeping people safe. It's not about saving the children. It's not about protecting us from terrorism and all the labels they wrap everything in to push some of this nonsense. It's just just fat on the bone. It's just fat. It's pure excessive size, overreaching government, in my opinion. That's just hurting people. It's hurting families. I have friends that have working full-time jobs. They've got good jobs and they're struggling to, like, find places to live in a place where
Yeah.
they're not going to have to commute 90 minutes. This is such nonsense. We're smarter than this as a people. So
Could people put these homes in like a residential area if there was like an infill lot or something in a residential area? Would that even work with it? Or that would stand out way too much?
no, I mean, they're beautiful. So I mean, I'm glad you asked. Let me share may I share my screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're listening to this, you're gonna have to I'll try to talk it out, but I'm
Hmm.
gonna share my screen. I got nothing really to hide here. So this is the Oasis. This is the presentation for homeowners. It's a beautiful self-sufficient home you can build in 90 days, helps you be rent mortgage free, plus food, power, and water self-sufficient. So we got this Hobbit domed arches on the sides where the bedrooms go. And then you've got this open flat space. And the reason we have this flat space is so you can fix the solar panels and point them any direction they need to be to catch the sunlight, because your house orientation may not match where the best solar gain is, right?
Hmm.
So this is from basically what I did is there's a company called Wonderful Structures that built these little Hobbit homes all over the world. And what I basically did is I married them with earthships because they had the Hobbit home structure, but they didn't have any of the self-sufficient systems. So you can see they built them all over the world in over 25 countries. This is an example of a guy, Don. He built one in Hawaii. He's on one of the small islands in Hawaii. He spent $250,000 on the 1.3 acre lot, 250,000 on the lot. He spent 279,000 to build it. He built one of their eco greens and he duct taped and bubble gummed a solar panel system and a rainwater system to it. And his appraised value when he moved in for occupancy, his final inspection was October 2023, and it was already appraised at 824,000. What he did is he made it wheelchair accessible. His wife was having some walking issues in that, and so he made it wheelchair accessible, and that was basically it. Planted some pineapple on the property, and he got it appraised this year, 2025, and it came in at 1.58 million was the appraisal. And so he went from, just over like $530,000 investment to 100, now 1.58 million. And it's because of the demand. So this is what I talked about with the Earthships. You can see it's kind of like a Star Wars thing. You see this exposed tires here. That's the walls, but it's got all the systems. It's solar. They don't do the vents in the ceiling anymore, too many leaking issues, and they don't store the batteries outside. But you can see it collects the rainwater, goes into a cistern, and then that's used in the house, and then it gets recycled into an indoor greenhouse essentially. And then everything in the sewage goes out to the yard or to the sewer if you're on city. This is called a geothermal vent. It's basically a galvanized stainless steel sonotube. It's an air vent. Put a filter on one side and a fan if you want. And when the air comes in, it's cooler in the shade than in the sun. Well, when the air comes in, the heat's absorbed by the dirt. And if you're doing Celsius, the air comes in about 10 degrees cooler than the outside temperature. If you're doing Fahrenheit, it's about 18 degrees cooler. And the measurements on it, and people love them. People love them. So again, they're done in 25 countries all over the world, and people love them. These are all highly rated. This is top 1% home on Airbnb, 237 reviews. This is another one. That's 4.95 out of 5, 260 reviews. So people love the look and feel of these kind of hobbit homes, top 5% homes. And because it's a prefabricated shell, it's 2 to 5 days to build the exterior. And then it takes a week or so to a week or two to cover it. I'm going to hop around here. Here's the actual measurements inside. So because of the dirt berm, and it uses spray foam insulation as well, you can see this is the wonderful structures technology, which is really just, even if you were in a cave, it would be similar. But the outside, the blue is the outside temperature. It's in Fahrenheit. You can see it fluctuates greatly. It goes up to 80, goes down to 40. And then a traditional home kind of fluctuates in there, kind of 70 to sort of, I guess that's 55. But it's such a stable internal temperature because of that dirt berm and the spray foam insulation. So then we have solar panels, the geothermal cooling tube I described. We put a French drain around the property, so all the runoff, all the water that comes off gets collected into a cistern at the back and is used. And so it's just a fantastic little concept. And then we have the 4 indoor garden pools, which are inside, and you can wall them off if you want. You can just use curtains, or you just leave it as part of the open air, and you can plant whatever you want. You can plant food in this. You can plant roses, flowers, your citronella. And this is the 760. We've had to change the prices because with the tariffs that Trump put in, the cost of the solar stuff has gone up. So I think we had to add $3,000 to most of the prices. But these are the ones we have, but we do custom sizes all the time. And this was just a breakdown of different different models. I always say pick a model you can pay off in 5 years. LA cost of living. This is from a site called Numbeo. It does cost of living analysis. People vote. So in LA, you're looking at $3,000 a month easily. This is New York, over $3,000 a month easily. Vancouver, you're looking at $3,000 a month easily. This is 1 bedroom in the city. It's $2,000 a month plus your power, plus your water, plus your groceries, right? And that's a 1 bedroom. If you're living with anybody else, you're already looking at here $3,000, $5,000. So it just makes sense. Toronto, Berlin, Singapore, Melbourne, Sydney, all over the world. Everyone's paying about $3,000 a month. And that's where I'm saying that if you can get into a self-sufficient home, you can escape the rat race. It's not just about making more money. It's about the gap. We talked about that. The gap between what you make and what you keep. So instead of I'm going to buy my dream home and I'm going to sign up for a death pledge, mortgage, death pledge. I'm going to get into something. I'm going to get it paid off. I'm going to be self-sufficient. I'm going to get my income, my cost of living down to 0 as much as possible. I'm still going to chase millions, still chasing millions with my business. If I'm going to get to 0, you buy a solar kit, get it set up. None of this is revolutionary, So I could talk on and on and on. I can go through the whole spiel if you want, but
no, this is great, and I love the visual, and they are very attractive too. I love how they're really all encompassing for self-sustainability. I think that's very empowering and part of financial freedom. It's not just the financial, it's the freedom, and freedom
yeah.
equals, sustainability and not reliant having a little more autonomy. And that's
Yep.
really, really important. What is the biggest myth about housing and wealth building that keeps most people trapped? And how does Oasis Biohomes break that cycle?
Yeah, great question. Well, a lot of people think I heard what's his name? He's a financial planner, famous dude. Anyways, he said when you step outside and barefoot in the grass of your house with the mortgage paid off, it feels different. And so, I think it's a lot of people, their house is their biggest investment, but a house isn't necessarily, and for a lot of people, owning a home isn't an investment.
Mhm.
They think it is. I mean, look at the 2008 financial crisis. There were so many people in houses that they couldn't afford. And even if they were close to paying it off, like it didn't necessarily give them what they needed. Like you're still, you still have all these strings on you. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that you need to grow all your own food. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you need to be completely autonomous and buck society. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's not as hard as people think. It's just like we said the last time. People have PhDs in SpongeBob. We're too preoccupied. Hollywood was the name of the tree that wizards used to make their wands from. Look at the meaning of the word entertainment. It's like to entertain, to entrance
Mhm.
people. We are so like it's just so profitable. It's so profitable to keep us entertained all day. People, when you look outside, you see the birds, the squirrels, the ants. None of them are going, hey, Mr. Like, let's take a squirrel. Hey, cat, sorry, it's my day off. I need a mental health day. Can you come chase me? Like, people are so detached from the reality that we live in. And so the biggest myth is this comfortable lifestyle you have is the reason why people are in the situation that they're in. They're detached from what's happening. They forgot their civic duty to be involved in politics. They're so entertained by watching Netflix all day, every day, and what's happening on social media and watching cat videos that they're not trying to educate themselves and improve their standard of living. There used to be a great book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And
Mhm.
it's one of the best financial planning, simplest books you'll ever find. And one of the key tenets is make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. And the
Mhm.
biggest myth is that a bigger home is not a good investment. For a lot of people, the home that they pick is not, like, it's a huge drain.
Yeah.
I'm going to move to the city so I get a better paying job, but now I'm working to pay my car and bills so I can go to work. Like, I'm
It's like
going to
what
work
Robert Kiyosaki says, your house is not an asset. It's a
for so many
liability.
people. For so many people, it's a liability.
Mhm.
Unless you have a house that gives you power, water, and a small amount of food, you
Mhm.
know. And like I said, if I'm in the Philippines here, it blew my mind because it's super common here for people to just have like free range chicken. You can go to the store and they have free range chicken eggs, but most chicken here is free range. People just
Mhm.
have chickens that like run wild and they don't have a fence, they don't have a coop. They just have chickens run around the yard and they have like a little whatever thing for them to stay in when it's raining. And that's it. And then one chicken will give you 5, 6 eggs a week.
Mhm.
And they don't even feed them. They eat like the bugs. In Canada, sure, you got winter, so you need to accommodate that. But if you're in the southern states, if you're somewhere here like the Philippines, there's so many parts of the planet where it's like, if you have got 3 chickens, you've got 2, 4 eggs a day. Um, you got, like you're not like that's at least one meal a day. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like it's just that's the point that I want to make to people that we've all been enchanted. We've had it good for so long. There's a saying that you can't keep wealth past 3 generations. The first one struggles and earns it. The second one saw their parents grind, respects it, preserves it. The third one knows nothing but luxury and is so far removed from the habits it took to build it, they squander it. And that's where we are now. So for me, I'm trying to help people with the Oasis.
Mhm. No,
And I'm coming up with other models already. So these are all built in 60 to 90 days. As we say, we pour a slab. It's got the gardening ponds roughed in. It has to dry, cure for 30 days. So that's when we manufacture it. Right now, the factory's in Cancun. When it arrives, shipping takes a couple of weeks. We pop it open. You're here in 2 to 5 days. You put the glass, the facade on, the internal outside, and it's all finishing. So you can see here, you pour the slab, you do the panels, you seal it, you rough in the electrical and the plumbing, and then you build the facades. The facade is the wall that separates inside from outside. You put the glass on, you spray foam insulate it. That's a second layer of waterproofing. You cover it with this EPDM black pond lining. That's a third layer waterproofing. And then they did do some with geofoam blocks, which is like a environmentally friendly styrofoam. But now we're recommending sand cement buttresses. For a lot of places, it's going through with permits easier. But that still fits in with the pricing that I gave earlier, depending where you are, 2x to 3x, our list price. Sand cement buttresses, we've got a couple projects starting in Florida. They need to be hurricane proof. We got a couple people in Tornado Valley. If you're worried about earthquakes, sand cement buttresses will set you free. But you want the ones that you leave in. You don't want the ones you set up, take down, set up, take down. That's a huge tip. And that's it. And then you cover it with grass or let it grow wild, and it's all interior finishes. So you're looking at 2 weeks to, after pouring the slab, you're looking at 2 weeks to a month to finish the exterior, and then it's all interior finishing.
Right. That's amazing. And you own the land as well. So it is
Yeah.
an
And
important part.
that's like a huge part of the freedom here is, especially today, today's day and age with remote work and stuff, you know, buy a lot where you got a little piece of land, set something up, whether it's an oasis, whether it's something else, you know, solar panels will go a long way. If it's winter, you probably need some of those warming cables, and you need extra panels because it takes a lot of energy to warm and melt snow. But you get some warming cables. That's what they use at ski lodges. And you know, you got a bit of power, you know, and maybe you're not 100% self-sufficient. That's fine, but it'll offset, right?
Yes. You're right.
Offset.
You're on the right track.
Yeah, these oases are really easy to make into a bunker. You just add a little extra concrete, you add a little extra dirt. 2 feet of dirt will protect you from nuclear radiation. That's on one of my slides here. 2 feet of dirt, it wouldn't protect you from a nuclear. Yeah, this is the whole what they want you to think. You ask, what's the biggest myth? What they make you believe you need versus what you actually need, right? That's a huge
I
myth.
love that. I love that slide. I
Yeah,
think that's going to be actually the slide included on this email that I'm
sure.
going to, that people, when they're opening this up, they're going to read this. I love that.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the one. Fallout shelter wall material options. So you need 3 inches of lead, 7 inches of steel, 16 inches of concrete, 2 feet of packed soil, 36 inches of water, so 2 feet of dirt. And with the load bearing walls for the Oasis, we can handle 8-foot packed snow loads. So you can do 2 feet of dirt. Now you'll be protected from nuclear solar flare. You know, you don't need to be Zuckerberg spending 300 million on a bunker, you know, and there's no gassing, it's all inert. And if anyone's worried about air quality, there's a TED talk where this guy said you could plant these 3 plants and we could put you in a bottle with a lid on it and you wouldn't die. You need 8 shoulder height palm trees. You need 6 hip height mother-in-law's tongue. And it says the money plant, but I know this is golden pothos. So you just need a golden pothos cleans chemicals out of the air. So the panels, they're inert, FRP, fiberglass resin polymer, properly maintained. They'll last for over 50 years, which basically means don't leave them exposed to the sun too much and, you know, don't stab the walls. But even if it's a paneled system, easy to replace. So that was, you know, and that's how I'm trying to help make a difference. I help people make money with their business. And then once they've got some money, hey, like, what's your exit strategy? How are you going to be interdependent with society? Because otherwise, you know, life's
I
not
love
looking
that.
easy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. This is an extension basically on financial freedom. I love this revolutionary I do still think it's revolutionary, even though it's back to basics. I do think it's like mind blowing in that regards. And it's really it's great to see people going back. But how do you see the top 1% and 2% people? You know, like what do you consistently see the wealthiest, like 1% to 2% doing with housing and assets that the rest of us, you know, are not doing? And how does Oasis Biohomes fit into this model?
Yeah, well, great question. So Bill Gates has a house dug into the side of the mountain. Jeff Bezos is in the side of the mountain, and it's actually across the road from his Blue Origin launch pad. So, you know, Elon Musk is building rocket ships. So what I think people don't necessarily know is that I think about is once your bills are paid, you start thinking more in terms of legacy, but also longevity. And whether it's the poles flipping, whether it's a solar flare, whether it's a nuclear war, you know, you basically put all your eggs in a basket and build a moat around that basket. And so what these wealthy people are doing, and Mark Zuckerberg is building a $300 million, you know, bunker in Hawaii. Kim Kardashian had a bunch of complaints from her neighbors because they were putting in a bunker under her house from the construction. So all these people, it's like, hey, in case there's civil unrest, in case XYZ happens, I need to have not just a place to stay and sleep that protects you from the elements, but I need a homestead that protects me. And that's what I'm saying. The government can shut your bank accounts down. All sorts of stuff can happen. Even if it's not the government, the power goes out. Now the ATMs don't work. Now what are you going to do? Right? Another COVID happens. You're locked in your home. Now what are you going to do? Well, if you're on a homestead or in a building like an Oasis, you just shut the gate and you just watch it with a gun. Yes, people need guns because it's funny, but none of these politicians are walking around without armed guards. There's no military that's out there using pamphlets and hugs, right? So we have to defend ourselves. That we have a right to defend ourselves. That's a huge. I was never. If you talk to me pre-COVID and post-COVID, I've changed so much. But it's just from the overreach to say it's armed minorities are harder to oppress. So these ultra rich, they're all preparing. When you can buy anything, you know, once you're financially free, just paying your bills is not enough. Okay, my bills are covered. Great. Are you prepared to survive the next upset? I don't know if anyone understands the history of the world, but all of our countries are kind of new in the grand scheme of things, right? Canada's what, 125, 130 years old. I mean, there's a great YouTube video called The History of the World, I guess. And it's this unique kid, Bill Wurz or whatever. He's got a unique style. And all of his videos were kind of unknown. And then he did this one and it blew up and it's got hundreds of millions of views. But one of the things that you'll notice when he talks about the history of the planet, it's countries, they're expanding and then they break up. All the provinces break up and they become independent countries. And then somebody conquers and then they merge again. And then it expands. And its whole history has been countries expanding and contracting. And if you don't, you know, if you watch that History of the World, I guess, YouTube video, and there's a great documentary called Rise of the Warrior Apes. It's about chimpanzee troop. It was the largest that they have ever documented. The most troops are 30 to 50 chimps. They're the most similar to us with DNA and social hierarchy. And then the largest, normally around 30 troops, they found one that was 85. And while they observed it, it grew to 256 or something like that. And it was, if you watch that and you watch the history of the world, I guess, I think you'll understand how countries, because they say like an individual is smart, an individual is intelligent, but mobs are irrational and, you know, like very primal. And I think if you look at that, I think governments operate like those chimp troops do. And then when you see contract right now, Alberta is looking to separate. Quebec wanted to separate from Canada. So all these people, like, you can't just hope that everything's going to be, hope is not a strategy, that things are going to remain stable. And so I gave you a 7-minute answer, but the rich, what they're doing is they're making money and then they're using it to build a moat around a homestead or multiple homesteads, because if the power goes out, if the ATM stop, if military flood the street, if, you know, bombs start dropping, like that's, and it's not to be doom and gloom, but fear and terror. It's just, you know, hope is not a strategy. You hope for the best and you plan for the worst. And just because you got money in your bank account, you're like, I'm financially free. I just think you are short-sighted. I think if you truly had financial freedom, you would now be looking at how do I protect myself and generations? And that's going to be mostly through some sort of family compound that's reinforced.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm so glad you came on for a second interview.
Sure.
Thank you so much. At one point you mentioned something, I'm like, do we need a third? But we will discuss that off camera. But that was amazing. Thank you so much, Gerald, for sharing that with us. Audience, I will include both of his interviews on the same email because I think that this is a great follow-up to our first conversation, because we went very, you think this was deep, guys? You better see the first one. It was even more mind-blowing and deeper. So thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And audience, please join us. We'll have another interview with another expert tomorrow, sharing one of their wealth building strategies, showing you how to fast track your financial freedom. Thanks, everyone.